Part 79. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 784. During the flight of the Edisha, when Jia Yan was free, he went to the blood essence of the former owner of the Edisha to try to see if he could use the blood essence to enhance his strength. Unexpectedly, the star-level essence and blood can actually give Jia Yan some help. Although the effect is not great, it is also a real enhancement. Jia Yan was overjoyed at this time. In addition to checking the progress every day, he also used the stellar blood essence. You must know that although the current effect is not strong, the amount of essence and blood is huge, and the total accumulation is also very powerful. Considerable enhancement. What's also gratifying to him is that on the Edisha, there are some specialties from the Chaos Star territory, such as life-renewing stones, so that he doesn't have to think about capital issues before going to the next place. Because he believes that valuable things will be valuable no matter where they go, not to mention some items in the Chaos Star territory, which may not be available elsewhere. Time passed by so slowly. And just when the Edissa flew to a certain point in time. Hey, it seems that the huge mysterious star is in front of you, right? Do you want to go back and have a look? Through the record map on the Edissa, Jia Yan saw the huge stars that he had ventured into before, and the idea of wanting to go and find out came up. Forget it, the planet seems to have changed something at the last moment when I left. It's better for me to avoid provoking such a thing if it involves a star-level powerhouse. Jia Yan thought this with some regret. But when that huge star appeared in front of Jia Yan, he once again lamented the hugeness of this kind of planet. Jia Yan looked at the space scene outside the side of the Aditha with some surprise. It turned out that in the space of that distant place, extremely magnificent brilliance was shining continuously at this moment. That way, it seems like two strong men fighting against each other? Jia Yan was a little unsure, because through visual inspection, he found that the brilliance that erupted there was millions of kilometers away from him. If he could observe any brilliance of battle at this distance, then the battle would be the existence of both parties is beyond even Jia Yan's imagination. No. Is this a battle between stars? Jia Yan thought for a while, and then his heart suddenly shook. He remembered that Kongping, the stellar powerhouse who captured him, seemed to have come over to the northern star region for other matters. Even though he escaped, Kongping did not return to the central area to find him. If she discovered something in this huge planet in the Chaos Star territory, it would be entirely possible for her to give up Jia Yan and come here. In other words, maybe the news that I got something on this huge planet in the Chaos Star territory was known by the Whitebird War Hall and other forces, and then Kongping came to the Northern Star territory? Then another one who fought who is the strong man? Could it be another star-level strong man from some force? Jia Yan looked at the battle scene over there from a distance. He was millions of miles away. He was not worried about being discovered by these two strong men. If the other party's magical power was strong enough to detect him from such a distance, then the Aditha would also be able to escape. After all, it was once a means of transportation for top-level stellar powerhouses. Master, the two people there are so powerful. Edisha is a little scared. Just as Jia Yan watched the battle millions of kilometers away, a small mosquito flew out and came to Jia Yan, as if he was frightened. For this newborn light and shadow monster, it seems that he is no different from a real creature. At this moment, he is like a child. It is the first time he sees a strong man at the stellar level fighting. He is simply frightened. Edisha, be prepared to keep the ship in a state where it can move at the fastest speed at any time. As long as these two strong men want to come over, we will escape. Jia Yan looked at him and said. Okay, how about we leave now? Edisha asked in horror. No, let's take a look first. Even if it doesn't work out, I can still see what it feels like to have a star-level combat power. Jia Yan shook his head. This was an opportunity to see clearly the strength of a star-level powerhouse, and Jia Yan didn't want to give up. And he also believes in the ability of the Edissa. Edissa said that the current Edissa has 50% of the speed of its full state, and even its defensive capabilities are more than half of its peak. Jia Yan does not believe this. In this state of strength, the Edissa could not escape from the hands of two stellar powerhouses at a distance of several million. After all, no matter how strong the star class is, it is still a strong one, not to mention that it is only one level ahead of Jia Yan. It is impossible to be as powerful as the Galaxy class to a level that Jia Yan cannot understand. The fighting scene in the distance became more and more grand, and it seemed to be getting closer. Jia Yan did not order the Edissa to leave, but observed carefully. From a distance, Jia Yan could feel the aura of one of the two strong men, and it turned out to be Kong Ping. As for the existence on the other side, I don't know who it is, but through Jia Yan's experience in the northern star field, I found that the strength of this strong man is somewhat similar to that of the mercenary organization. Don't doubt the strength and aura of the strong, because in a strong camp, it is still very possible to distinguish the similarity of the aura, especially in a large force. Many strong men have similar training routines, so their sense of breath will be similar. And this other star-level powerhouse seems to be the existence of a mercenary organization. One is a star-level member of the Whitebird War Hall, and the other is a star-level member of the mercenary organization. They are actually fighting outside this huge star. Jia Yan looked at the battle scene at this moment with some confusion. It was too far away, and he could only judge the grand scene of the battle between these two powerful men through the faint brilliance of the battle. As expected of a star, I can feel such terrifying power even though it's millions of kilometers away. Is this what the realm feels like? A star level, really only one step away from me? I feel much stronger than me. The more Jia Yan felt the stellar power, the more frightened he felt. Master, don't worry. Being powerful at the star level is powerful, but it is only a matter of the same level as an ordinary venerable. If you are talented enough, you don't have to go through the semi-star level and the sub-level strong level. If the tone is promoted to the star level, maybe the strength will reach their level in an instant, so there is no need to be afraid of them. Little Edisha on the side comforted Jia Yan and said. Do you still know this? Jia Yan smiled. Of course I understand. I understand everything number one knows. Next time I will teach you the moves of my former master. However, number one has some restrictions on me. I have to wait until your strength reaches a certain level before I can teach you. Otherwise, it will be harmful. The little mosquitoes flew up and screamed noisily. Okay, I understand. The future depends on you. Jia Yan nodded. He actually also understood that although this Edisha looked like another personality, her actual abilities were probably similar to those of the senior light and shadow monster, and he would also be able to obtain combat skills from it in the future. It's just that this little guy looks a little unreliable no matter how you look at it. Jia Yan's observation in this remote place actually found that the two powerful men millions of kilometers away were really not discovered. Ho! Kong Ping, are you, the Whitebird War Hall, really going to have trouble with my mercenary organization? Be careful that my mercenary organization will destroy your Whitebird War Hall when we get back. Within the starry sky, a monster that was about 1 kilometer in size kept roaring at a colorful monster that was only 100 meters in size. Although there is a huge difference in stature between the two, their combat prowess is not much different. This monster is as huge as a battleship and cannot do anything to the colorful monster in front of it. The colorful monster is naturally Kong Ping. She gave up on capturing Jia Yan and ended up on the supergiant ball in the Chaos Star territory. Gee, Wilso, you are a stellar star, please don't say such mindless words to me, okay? I, the Whitebird War Hall, are naturally afraid of your mercenary organization, but the mercenary organization will fight for this ruins. A battle with me at the Whitebird War Hall? Are you underestimating the powerful mercenary organizations other than you? They are not as ignorant as you. Kong Ping chuckled. At the same time, these two stellar monsters collided violently in mid-air. The scene of a stellar-level battle is naturally extremely terrifying. Otherwise, Jia Yan would not be able to see their battle with the naked eye even from millions of kilometers away. The collision of the energies of these two monsters distorted the entire starry sky. In a land of nothingness, another large area of light burst out. The light that burst out instantly was no different from the light bursting out from a star, and the brightness of this light can naturally be detected millions of kilometers away. Creatures noticed. It's just that they didn't expect that there would be hope for survival in this chaotic star field. Humph, Kong Ping, you are right. Our mercenary organization will not come forward to fight for us, but there is something on this superstar that is of great use to me. I believe that is not what you want. We have no conflict of interest at all about the thing I want. In this case, how about cooperation? The huge monster spoke with some fear at this moment. Cooperation is fine, but how can I trust you? Also, this superstar seems to have some unusual power. If there is such a danger, won't you put me to death? Kong Ping didn't believe this huge monster at all. That's all, let's take charge of half of the planet first. After the investigation is completed, we can swap. As long as you get what I want, don't take it away. I'm willing to exchange it for you. Likewise, if I get what you want, I will take it away. How about this? Said the huge monster. Okay, otherwise we'll fight like a kid here randomly, and we don't know how long the fight will last. I'll start with the Eastern Hemisphere and you the Western Hemisphere. Kong Ping didn't think about it for too long and flew directly to the huge mysterious planet similar to the Earth. Humph, if my injury hadn't healed yet, would I be afraid of you? The huge monster said secretly, and then flew to the other half of the planet. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 785. Phone reading. In the distance, Jia Yan saw two stellar monsters and seemed to have stopped fighting. Master, they have finished fighting. Let's leave quickly, otherwise they will fly over and we will be in trouble. Adisha hovered next to Jia Yan's head, constantly begging to leave. There is something on this planet that even two major stars want. I want to see what it is. Jia Yan said doubtfully. Ah, Master, do you want to see it? I know it. If you didn't tell me earlier, I would have told you. If you don't tell me, how would I know? If you tell me, everyone will be right. Edisha heard after Jia Yan said this, he jumped up and kept buzzing, making Jia Yan feel dizzy. Stop, he quickly shouted to the little guy. You said you knew? Tell me, Jia Yan asked strangely. In fact, it's not wrong to think about it. This little guy has inherited the memory of the light and shadow monster, and the light and shadow monster has been under the planet for a full 3,000 years. There is something on this planet that he must not be able to realize. No. Haha, don't they believe that there are some good things here like the previous master? In the past, my master believed that there were treasures left by great beings here, and they were of great benefit to my master at that time, so he came here by deception. It's a pity, there are indeed benefits here, but this is still a fishing place for that great being. When the master came, he happened to be attacked and died here. Adisha said coquettishly, so, are there any good things here that you want to know? I love to talk, but I don't want to talk. Jia Yan was a little speechless about this little mosquito light and shadow. It had only been a few days, and he missed the senior light and shadow monster even more. I said, here, there is something called counter blood that the strong man collected before. And this counter blood, it is said that it is a distant powerful being who came to our galaxy and was killed by that person. What is left behind after a great being kills him? And what is terrifying is that this being is actually a being with the opposite material to our galaxy. In other words, this being is not only a strong man, but also it is said that the strong man who exists in antimatter, if he hadn't been limited by his strength because the matter he exists in is different from the material in our galaxy, maybe the strong men in the entire galaxy would besiege him, and they might not be able to defeat him. Is it powerful? So I say, at least one of these two star levels will want this reverse blood. As for whether there are other good things here, I don't know. Huh? A strong man of antimatter, Jia Yan's complex eyes suddenly lit up with interest. Yes, Master, don't you know? In fact, in this universe, theoretically, matter and antimatter should be the same. Therefore, if there is matter like our galaxy, there are antimatter galaxies with the opposite material basis to the galaxy. That strong man, it comes from that galaxy. Edisha spread the knowledge about the starry sky to Jia Yan. There are also antimatter galaxies? Then if the positive and negative matter galaxies collide, the fireworks will be huge. Jia Yan said in shock when he heard this. Haha, of course it's big. It may have happened many times in the universe, but it's too far away from us. Master, you can't use the effect of reverse blood now. It's against the eternal. Only stars are effective. If you use it, you will definitely die. Let's not think about this and leave quickly, Edisha urged Jia Yan. In fact, this is not because Edisha is really afraid of death, but because as a brain, although it has a certain personality, the basic rules for protecting its owner are still the same as those of the light and shadow monster, but the way it is expressed is different. At this moment, there are two terrifying star-level experts on this giant star. For Jia Yan, these two powerful experts are too strong. He doesn't want Jia Yan to die here because he already wants something outside his body. After all, Jia Yan's talent has been confirmed by the light and shadow monsters. Although Edisha has not inherited much memory of the light and shadow monsters, he also understands that his master can definitely become a star-level existence without relying on external objects. Jia Yan pondered. He didn't know what the reverse blood was, but it was conceivable that something that could be beneficial to the star level might also be an extremely important treasure for Jia Yan. The former owner of the Edissa died in this giant star because he wanted this counter blood. Its effect can be imagined. If you miss it, the next time you want to find the blood of a strong antimatter man, it's simply impossible. Jia Yan thought for a while and finally came to a conclusion. Edisha, does the Edisha have the hidden ability to hide from the strong stars? I won't go in, so I will take a look outside. If there is a chance, how about taking action again? Jia Yan made this decision. Unexpectedly, as soon as Jia Yan finished speaking, the Edissa jumped up. Hide it from a star-level expert? How is it possible? The Edissa has the ability to conceal it, but it can only hide it from a star-level expert within about 20,000 kilometers. This is under the best conditions. Master, let me tell you, don't seek death. The previous master died because he sought death. Edisha jumped up and cursed. Do you have the ultimate escape ability? I don't believe that a ship as powerful as the Edisha doesn't have high-tech escape capabilities. Jia Yan changed his subject and said with some praise. Of course. The Edissa can make a space jump in 1,000th of a second. Although the ability is now compromised, it can still make a space jump in 100th of a second. As long as we find the opportunity, we can run away even if the star powerhouses don't have time to control the Edisha with their domain power, and the Edisha still has defensive power. Ordinary stars won't be able to attack the Edisha once or twice. Destruction. Edissa obviously thinks of itself as the Edissa. Of course, it is not wrong to say that. It is the brain of the Edissa. That's it, the Edissa, then I will be in the Edissa. When the time comes, I will make a move, but if there is no chance, I will stand still. Aren't you and the Edissa still there? You will protect my safety. No, did I say something wrong? Jia Yan educated Edisha step by step as if he were deceiving a child. This Edisha refused intentionally, but when she saw Jia Yan's eyes, she dodged. As a brain, it is almost not much different from ordinary creatures. At least for Jia Yan, the Edisha and the previous Light and Shadow seniors are like real people, especially the Edisha behaves like a small creature. Like a child, he felt a different kind of anger than his predecessors. Okay, but if I find danger, I will definitely launch the Edisha as soon as possible. If I don't get reverse blood by then, don't cry, the Edisha said seriously. Okay, I won't cry. Jia Yan couldn't laugh or cry. Then let's hide the Edisha. First, turn off the explicit engine, and the main power switch. The Aditha began to get busy, and during the flight, she even muttered, I don't know what you, a venerable master, do to get reverse blood. It's so boring. Don't be like the last master and just seek death, otherwise, Aditha must be just like number one. She has been alone for 3,000 years, why is my life so miserable? Seeing him flying around, crying and laughing, Jia Yan really felt a little unreliable. Fortunately, this guy looked like that, and what he actually did was pretty good. Not long after, the Aditha entered the starry sky in the north of the giant planet. This place is 100,000 kilometers away from the ground. Although we can already see the surface of this huge star, it is actually still very far away. The reverse blood is here. Although I don't know if they only want the reverse blood, but if you find the reverse blood here, a battle might break out. Then let's see if there is a chance here. Edisha Road. Time passed slowly. During this time, Jia Yan took another careful look at the planet below. He felt that in the area he could detect, there seemed to be more stars on this huge star than when he had been there before. Changed. Occasionally, one or two breaths that even made him feel palpitations passed through the ground below. Of course, these auras are not as powerful as those two stellar level experts. After all, how can a stellar level be born so easily? A star level can influence an entire huge star field. A small star field such as the northern star area can rule at least two similar star fields, so where is the star level here? Comes out often. And those two star levels are almost invincible among the giant stars below. Of course, there are some variables, that is, this planet, but it was born from a planet created by a great being that even surpassed the previous owner of the Edisha. What kind of existence would such a being arrange on this planet? No one knows the means. Master, don't worry. Although I don't know if the owner of this planet is still alive, he definitely hasn't been back here for a long time. This kind of place is just a casual work for a great being. He was able to capture it back then. My former master has already made a big gain for him, and with that gain, he must have abandoned this place, so there is no need to worry too much about him coming back. Edisha noticed Jia Yan's worries and answered them for him. But when the conversation changed, he said again. Of course, there are great level existences that no one can understand. What they will do is beyond my imagination. Maybe they are watching from a distance. In one sentence, Jia Yan was reminded of the great existence of the female voice that had once seen him, which almost made his skin crawl. Fortunately, at this point in the conversation, neither party said anything more. Because on the planet below, it can be felt that the two star classes seem to have begun an extremely terrifying battle. Thanks to the book friend The Miserable Aquarius for another reward of 1,000 coins, and also to the book friend Yuya Pavilion for the reward of 1,000 coins, and I don't know what time it is, my brother gave me a reward of 500 coins, thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 786. Boom boom boom. There was an explosion that shook the stars. Terrible battle pressure erupted on both sides of the planet. Moreover, the group of terrifying beings fighting them are all native creatures of this planet. Each one has reached the level of a venerable or above, and some are even sub-level experts or even half-star level experts. Although he was still dead under the crushing blow of the two powerful men, Jia Yan was still a little ashamed. If these powerful creatures had appeared when he came here, then he must be dead. Hey, there's a star class that got another thing, and he's coming to the north. Just when Jia Yan was a little surprised by the power of the giant creature, Edisha said in surprise. For a strong person at the stellar level, Edisha inherited part of the information and memories of the light and shadow monster, and understood how terrifying this kind of existence is. At this moment, seeing an existence charging to the superstar realm 100,000 kilometers below, he will naturally be nervous. Jia Yan also immediately became nervous. You must know that before this, he had personally experienced how terrifying a star-level powerhouse was. The strong man from the other side is here too. Aditya's detection ability is naturally more powerful than Jia Yan's own biological detection. After seeing a star-level powerhouse appear, she discovered the other side of the planet, and the latter star-level man also charged. The momentum of both sides was extremely terrifying, as if a terrible battle was about to break out. It seems that these two powerful men don't know how to understand that the great being here will not appear, or that the great being is dead. Jia Yan thought about the reasons why these two stellar-level experts came here. After thinking about it carefully, he connected some things together. It is estimated that he and the giant Mosquito fleet appeared in the northern star territory. Such a huge fleet must have leaked some secrets. As a result, a wave of large forces spread the events in the Chaos Star territory to the stellar powerhouses of their respective forces. As a result, these two strong men appeared. I see. How could these two powerful men appear? Generally speaking, it is impossible for a star-level powerhouse to appear in the northern star territory without too many benefits. But these two powerful men did not appeared. It is estimated that they have heard about the existence of this giant star for a long time, but they do not know the specific location. After hearing the news from our giant Mosquito fleet, they determined the location of the giant star and then snatched it. Treasure. A flash of understanding flashed in Jia Yanfu's eyes. In fact, what Jia Yan was thinking was very common sense. Of course, no matter whether he guessed right or wrong, Jia Yan would not waver in what he wanted to do next. The huge Edissa seemed to have entered the subspace at this moment. Of course, it did not completely enter the subspace, but simply entered the subspace partially, and the whole entered a state of vaguely jumping into space. From below, the Edissa becomes transparent. Without careful observation, it is impossible to notice that there is such a huge warship here. In addition, there is a distance of 100,000 kilometers between this place and the giant star. No matter how powerful the two star-level experts are, it will be difficult for them to detect its existence. Jia Yan is waiting on the Edissa. More than half an hour later, a shocking light suddenly erupted from beneath the northern land. The entire superstar seemed to be shaken. Here we go. Sure enough, it's impossible for two stellar powerhouses to distribute their property safely without conflict. Jia Yan's compound eyes lit up again, and a touch of surprise shone in countless compound eyes. What he was afraid of was that these two powerful men would not fight. If they did not fight, he would not have any chance. The battle below exploded again and again, and the entire star was shaking. Jia Yan was also surprised by the battle between the two powerful men. You must know that the most powerful person he has ever seen before was only a half-star level existence. Even if he was captured by Kongping before, it was only a unilateral arrest without any backhand, and he could not see it at all. The strength of a stellar-level powerhouse. But now that he saw the battle between two stellar-level beings, he suddenly realized that his judgment of stellar-level powerful beings needed to be improved to a higher level. The strength of a star-level existence is a terrifying thing, similar to a god to the average semi-star level powerhouse. Every time they fight against each other, or the domains squeeze each other, the huge giant star can be shaken, and waves of volcanoes will erupt, and almost the venerable will be directly burned to death by the volcano. During their battle, the superstar, who was extremely dangerous to Jia Yan, seemed to be in no danger at all, and was almost completely destroyed by them. This is just the aftermath of their battle. Jia Yan finally understood why it was said that at the stellar level, it could easily destroy a planet. Because in his opinion, if these two powerful men were not standing at their feet, other planets would have been directly destroyed. The battle below was still going on. Jia Yan even saw that the space was distorted by the battle between these two powerful men. In this space, he could not even use the space shuttle ability because the subspace had long been destroyed. The two strong men fought until they were almost broken. Master, their strength is about the same, but so far, there has been no final battle. It seems that they will not have a decisive battle because of these two things. Presumably, they will each share a treasure in the end, and then leave the Edisha is worthy of its honor. It was the intellectual brain that had some of the memories of the light and shadow monster. At this moment, he reported his analysis to Jia Yan. They haven't used all their strength yet? How terrifying is the stellar level? Jia Yan secretly took a breath of surprise when he heard this. No matter how terrifying the star level is, I will definitely kill Kongping of the White Bird War Hall in the future. If there is no chance now, forget it. If there is a chance, I will first snatch the treasure in her hand and charge a certain amount of money. Interest. The hatred in Jia Yan's eyes kept flashing. After all, the senior light and shadow monster died because of Kongping, and Jia Yan would not forget this. Finally, the battle below continued for almost 10 minutes, and then slowly came to a halt. There is probably some kind of negotiation going on between the strong ones. Master, don't look at how fierce they are fighting, but in fact, the star level is extremely life-saving. Each star level has a life of more than 10,000 years. Special races can even live several times as long. They encounter in their lives there are too many opportunities to obtain treasures, so no matter how good the current treasure is, as long as it does not reach a heaven-defying level, they cannot risk their lives. Edissa explained to Jia Yan again. In the eyes of this little light and shadow mosquito, his master seems to have some extreme emotional tendencies, and now he is trying to persuade his master's emotions through explanations. After the fighting below stopped for a while, two figures, one large and one small, slowly flew up from the planet. I guess there is no chance. Jia Yan looked at the two powerful men approaching the Edisha with some depression. Now he only hoped that if these two powerful men flew close to the Edissa at the right angle, they would not notice the Edissa. Although the Edissa had a chance to escape by jumping, it would be a bit dangerous. He doesn't want to play some kind of roller coaster game, it's not good for life. Unexpectedly, the two powerful men were flying towards the Aditha while they were talking about something. Edisha, get ready to jump. Be careful of these two guys coming. Jia Yan quickly ordered Edisha. Okay, Edissa has been ready for a long time. God forbid they come here. The little mosquito was hovering in the air in surprise, and it could be seen that he was also extremely frightened. But these two powerful men seemed to have discovered the Edissa and flew straight to a place less than 10,000 kilometers away from the Edissa. At such a close distance, Jia Yan could see them with the naked eye. There are two powerful men, one is Kongping, and the other is the huge monster that is much bigger than Kongping. Ho! Kongping, I have remembered what happened today. You actually snatched away the reverse blood I wanted from my hands. It is simply unreasonable. Our mercenary union would suffer such a big pain. Next, you, Shiradiao Battle Hall, be prepared to accept the revenge of my mercenary union. The huge monster seemed to have suffered a little loss in the battle, and said with some fear in front of Kongping. Haha, okay, if your mercenary union is ready to start a full-scale war with me, Whitebird War Hall, you can mobilize those old monsters when you go back. Kong Ping smiled without any fear of this huge monster. But I forgot to tell you that a genius from our Whitebird Battle Hall has already become a star in the genius battlefield. Although his current strength is not as good as you and me, he will not be there for 200 years. In time, he will surpass you and me, and even reach the strength level of that old monster in your mercenary union. If I say this, do your mercenary union still dare to take action? Kong Ping continued to talk to the huge monster in a threatening tone. A genius in the genius battlefield? Hiss, are you talking about the genius by AO from your Whitebird War Hall who reached the level of a venerable in 100 years and a powerful person in 200 years? Is he a genius? The battlefield has only been 100 years old, and it has been promoted to the star level again? How is it possible? After hearing Kong Ping's words, the huge monster's eyes suddenly flashed with disbelief. Bai Ao only practiced for 300 years and reached the star level. In this Guangmao area, he is almost a legend. And if such a powerful genius continues to practice, maybe in 200 years, he may really be able to reach the level of an old senior in the mercenary organization. In that case, the mercenary organization in this Guangmao area, the most precious seat in the palace, might be given to the Whitebird Battle Hall. Please come and subscribe to the official version. Only those who subscribe to the official version can lead a quality life and a spiritual life. Everyone who subscribes to the official version is noble, reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 787. Phone reading. So what if he is a genius? He, by AO, cannot be invincible in the genius battlefield. He might die at some point, the huge monster said with some fear, but the words in his mouth refused to admit defeat. Kong Ping just smiled, and this smile seemed to be a kind of ridicule to the huge star. Knowing that he could not talk to the other party, he flew straight forward, as if he was willing to tangle with the other party. But Kong Ping, who was falling behind, suddenly had a strange light flashing in his radiant eyes. Master, they are already close to 9,000 kilometers away. If they hadn't been wary of each other and didn't explore the surroundings, they might have found out where we are. It's very dangerous. Jump and run away. In the Edissa kept circling around Jia Yan. It seemed that if Jia Yan hadn't denied it, he would have let the Edissa jump and escape. Don't worry, I think these two strong men don't seem to be able to end the battle so easily. A flash of light flashed in Jia Yan's eyes, and he looked at the two powerful men in the distance through the observation instrument of the Edissa with his naked eyes, seeming a little confused. Especially when Kong Ping's figure was lagging behind the huge monster by more than half, his eyes suddenly burst out with light. Sure enough, Kong Ping is going to take action, he thought in shock. And just when Jia Yan was thinking this, as expected, 9,000 kilometers away, Kong Ping, who was lagging behind the huge monster, took action like a thunderstorm. She was flying in space, and when the opponent's body passed half of her body, the entire peacock-like feathers spread out directly. Then the wings suddenly became brighter. The huge monster flying in front was also not slow to react. He was shocked and quickly tried to run away. But he instantly felt that the vacuum around his body suddenly tightened. Normally, he would be able to break free from the power of this domain in just an instant, but now he was unprepared for his opponent's movements, and the strength Kong Ping used completely exceeded before. What's more, the opponent's lighted wings, there seemed to be a force that solidified his body and held him still for half a second. This half second is an instant for ordinary creatures, but for powerful stars, it is enough for others to kill them 1,000 times. The brightness of Kong Ping's wings lit up almost instantly, surpassing the brightness of some stars. However, this brilliance was colorful, not only making the huge star-level monster unable to move, but also shooting out a feather fiercely from the brilliance. A roar suddenly erupted in space. "Kong Ping, do you really want to fight me to the death?" the huge monster roared and backed away. One blow couldn't kill him. Although Kong Ping showed off his hidden strength explosively, he was still a Starry Sky level after all, especially since he also had some killer tricks. Although he was hit hard by one blow, he was still strong. "Hold on and back away. I don't want to fight you to the death. The thing in your hand, I just said it is of no use to me, but in fact it is also of great use to me. Take a closer look to see if my strength has reached the level it should be. Is it time for promotion? So the thing in your hand is also very good to me, so I can't kill you." Kong Ping gave out a female indifferent smile, and then took a step closer to the huge star-level monster. "Huh, I'm afraid you won't succeed." The huge monster actually cracked the top of its head, erupting into a terrifying smoke. Even the starry sky itself was eroded by the smoke. It was an extremely terrifying toxin. "I have known for a long time that you are the one responsible for the poisonous mist attack. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to go to the other side of the planet to be prepared to resist the poison. Now your poisonous mist has nothing to do to me." It worked. Kong Ping seemed to have known for a long time that this huge monster was a star with poisonous mist. She took a disdainful step into the poisonous mist. Jia Yan, who was 9,000 kilometers away, felt immense pain in his eyes just by looking at the poisonous fog on the screen. What kind of attack is this? It's so scary. Jia Yan quickly used his power, and a blue color filled his compound eyes, and then he felt better. After many life and death crises, Jia Yan is now able to freely control the appearance and disappearance of the blue power. After that, Jia Yan couldn't see the battle in the poisonous mist. He could only see that the poisonous mist was unstable and constantly dispersed and condensed and dispersed, and there was a huge power constantly transmitting out of it. Even the Edisha, which was 9,000 kilometers away, began to shake. "Master, let's go quickly. If these two monsters fight, we might be exposed." When Edisha saw that the two powerful men seemed to be getting closer and closer to the Edisha, she kept persuading Jia Yan in fear. "No rush," Jia Yan didn't look impressed at all. Editha shook her head and sighed in a depressed manner, as if she felt helpless towards this master who was not afraid of death. It's not that Jia Yan is not afraid of death, but his previous life experience tells him that everything is obtained from adventure. Although the scene of the battle is very scary now, in fact, the two powerful men in the battle at this moment, regardless of who is strong and who is weak, but their power is definitely being consumed. As long as their power is consumed to a certain extent, the threat to the Edissa will be even smaller. He is waiting for the opportunity. Let's fight. The more intense the fight, the better. Also, the closer, the better. The sparkle in Jia Yanfu's eyes became more and more intense. The poisonous mist in the battle slowly approached the Aditha, from 9,000 kilometers, to 7,000 kilometers, and then to 5,000 kilometers. Finally, the fighting circle is close to 2,000 kilometers. Normally, the Adissa would have been camouflaged, but at such a close distance, a star would definitely have spotted it. But now the two powerful men have been fighting with all their strength, and there is also the obstruction of the poisonous fog. They have not discovered the existence of the Edissa. "Master, Master. It's 2,000 kilometers away, and it will even be 1,000 kilometers away in a while. By then, they can hit us with any blow. Let's go," the Aditha begged Jia Yan almost in a pleading manner. "No, Edisha, be prepared to isolate the realm of stellar powerhouses, my life and death will depend on you later." Jia Yan shook his head, the crazy look in his eyes was extremely intense. "Master, Master, what do you want to do? Don't." Edisha was stunned when she heard Jia Yan's words. In the starry sky, the huge figure kept retreating. The huge star level was frightened. He is extremely confident in his backup, which is the toxin after his head is split open. He relied on this method to become almost invincible in the past. He even relied on this method to kill a similar person before. Stellar level. But this time Kong Ping seemed to have known his method for a long time and directly blocked his smoke. Moreover, Kong Ping's personal strength actually exceeded the information he had obtained before. This huge monster actually seemed unable to defeat her. Buzz. When the smoke monster retreated, Kong Ping's colorful wings bloomed again. The huge monster suddenly stopped. Then Kong Ping came directly in front of the strong man and pierced his chest with one blow. A huge amount of blood was spilled, spreading all over the sky. And just when Kong Ping used this attack, the huge monster had a flash of hatred in its eyes. On the top of his blooming head, an unusual thread appeared in an instant. The speed of this thread was extremely fast, and with its appearance, the domain power in the entire world was directly penetrated by it. After breaking through Kong Ping's domain power, this thin thread pierced her neck before she had time to react. Kong Ping was startled. She felt that her body was directly invaded by an extremely terrifying toxin force, and her anti-toxic method was used on the surface of her body. Now that the toxin has entered her body, it is almost impossible for her to resist it. Even if her body is at the stellar level, it will take at least a few days to detoxify naturally. How is it? My poisonous silk tastes good, right? This is the most poisonous part of my body. Now, die. The huge star dragged its body to Kong Ping, wanting to kill the immobile Kong Ping with one blow. But at this moment, Kong Ping, who could barely move, suddenly had a burst of brilliance on her colorful wings. The feathers seemed to be filled with endless power, and they shot out like lightning. This feather is Kong Ping's final trump card. Her strength is superior to her opponent, but she is still forced to use this move. It can be seen that among the stellar powerhouses, if they want to fight to the death, who with a slight difference in strength will win. It's really unpredictable. Under the transmission of these hundreds of feathers, the huge monster was not prepared at all. His expression changed completely when he rushed in front of Kong Ping. But before he could make any response, pieces of feathers penetrated his body. Moreover, this feather was indeed Kong Ping's last means of self-protection. When used at this moment, it directly cut off the poisonous threads of this huge monster, and even pierced countless holes in his body. The entire huge monster looked like it had been hit by a machine gun, with countless blood holes all over its body. You. The huge monster's eyes widened. He hated that if Kong Ping hadn't been too cunning and hurt him with the first move, otherwise he might not have really lost in a life and death fight. But if you lose, you lose. The life and death of a star-level powerhouse can only be achieved by other star-level or more powerful powerhouses. And this huge monster is just a moment of misjudgment. Now this person who once killed having died from another star-level being, it was his turn to be killed by another star-level being. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 788. Phone reading. Kong Ping, your Whitebird battle hall will definitely be destroyed, and you will be like me, killed by other strong men, and that Bio will definitely be killed by other strong men. I'm waiting in hell. The huge monster's body slowly retreated, and the brilliance in his eyes slowly disappeared. The poison around him seemed to be affected by his death and gradually dissipated. And right now? Do it? Jia Yan, who had been watching for a long time, finally burst out with a loud roar. At this moment, his body suddenly took a step forward. At this moment, Jia Yan completely used the space shuttle ability that he had learned for so long. At this moment, he was completely beyond the standard for his own strength. One step across, the world in front of you went directly from the Edisha to the starry sky. The distance of more than 1,000 kilometers is just enough for Jia Yan's shuttle ability. At the same time that Jia Yan shuttled out of the Edisha, The Edissa behind suddenly burst out with a burst of light, and a huge 10-kilometer figure appeared directly from the vacuum of the universe. Moreover, a mysterious power surges directly from its surface. This defensive power is extremely impressive, and it seems to be able to block a certain degree of stellar-level attacks. Jia Yan, on the other hand, didn't care about what was going on behind him at all. At this moment, he felt like he was going crazy, but a sense of pleasure also invaded his heart. This huge monster must be dead. Jia Yan took a step forward, and the place he came out of was behind the huge star-level monster. The opponent's huge figure blocked Jia Yan's body, but how could the space fluctuation caused by his appearance cover up the star level? Jia Yan, Kongping, who was fascinated by the toxin of the silk thread, suddenly had a bright light in his eyes. But when she wanted to move, she suddenly felt that her body was not moving so smoothly. But Jia Yan didn't care at all at this moment, and used his fastest speed to reach the body of this huge monster. The opponent didn't seem to have died yet. Jia Yan didn't care about it at all. He just rushed over in an instant and lifted a 20-meter-sized metal package from the opponent's abdomen directly into his front feet. But while he was running over the opponent's body, Jia Yan was still moved in his heart, and he grabbed several toxins from the silk threads of the huge monster that were shot by Kongping, and reached his feet. An unprecedented sense of horror spread through Jia Yan's heart, and he quickly threw the silk thread into the snatched package. At the same time, Jia Yan's body exploded backwards, and the space behind his body was directly distorted, almost entering the subspace in the next moment. Want to leave? Just after he made the series of actions, a cold female voice resounded through the space. Jia Yan felt his body shake violently, and the twisted space just formed behind him seemed to freeze. He was shocked. Even though Kongping was so seriously injured, she could still use her domain abilities on him. It was simply shocking. But the field power he felt this time seemed a little weaker than the last time he was caught. It seemed that the injury suffered by the other party had a great impact on her. Now that he has done it, Jia Yan will not regret anything. At this moment, he feels that although the other party can exert the power of the domain, this power seems to be unstable, and he can barely move. Jia Yan used all his strength, and his powerful body showed its power at this time. An unprecedented explosive power was used like an explosion in Jia Yan's body. He felt the force pressing on his body slowly loosen. Be honest with me. Jia Yan couldn't even react. Kongping, who was originally far away, seemed to teleport in front of him, which shocked him. In fact, this speed is just a normal speed for the two stars who are fighting and escaping all the way, but for a respected person like Jia Yan, it is an incredible speed. Seeing that the other party was less than 100 meters away, Jia Yan's whole body was covered with chills. A threat that seemed like death caused his body surface to shine azure. Then a miracle happened. When Kongping nonchalantly fired a feather in front of Jia Yan, it was about to shoot his entire head in two. The space behind Jia Yan's body was actually twisted and moved by him at this critical moment. Jia Yan suddenly stepped into the space behind with one hind foot. After his body was inserted into the space in a very awkward manner, the feather belatedly passed through the position where he was before. The space shook. The strength of a star-level strongman, even after the opponent was seriously injured, was enough to cause the entire twisted space to shake. Fortunately, the space did not collapse. Jia Yan escaped all the way to the rear. Then he felt a familiar pulling force and walked out of the space with a somewhat disgraced look. Poof! Jia Yan fell directly into the Edissa. At the same time, he only felt the entire Edissa shaking. Master, this blow of hers is really powerful. Sit down, I'm going to jump. Atisha yelled with a bit of a scream. Jia Yan had no time to respond, and then he felt that the entire space in front of him had entered another twisted space different from the subspace. From the perspective of Kongping from the outside, Jia Yan, who she had not noticed at all before, actually appeared in the area where the two powers were fighting, and then violently snatched away the package of the opponent who had finally killed her, without waiting for her to continue to raise her strength. To capture him, he actually entered a huge ship that she had rarely seen. But she knew her own strength, and she was not afraid of dealing with such a battleship, so she still used her strength to hit the battleship hard. But this battleship actually blocked her first blow. She was about to increase her strength and continue the attack, but the entire battleship seemed to have been prepared for a long time and went directly into the dimensional space. It's actually a dimensional space jump. Such an advanced warship would come to the Northern Star territory. It seems that I underestimated Jia Yan. Kongping stared at the space where the Aditha left with some annoyance, but where except for the fluctuation of a giant creature leaving, there is no trace left. How could Jia Yan come here? Damn it, he should have wanted to leave the Northern Star territory after escaping and cross the Chaos Star territory and happened to come here. I should have made similar preparations long ago. Now that thing, it was actually snatched away by him. Kongping was furious and jumped around the universe for a long time, but the fact was the fact. It was impossible for her to get back the things that Jia Yan took away. At this moment, she could only break her teeth and swallow them with blood. Fortunately, she didn't gain anything. The corpses of the powerful men from the huge mercenary organization were also good things. In addition, she also got another good thing from the superstar, so the trip was considered worthwhile. While she was still depressed, Jia Yan on the other side entered a strange space with the Edisha. Master, this space is different from the subspace where you use your combat skills. It is called a dimensional space. Although the principle is almost the same as the subspace, it is a deeper entry into the subspace that can offset the stellar power to the greatest extent. The power of the domain, thanks to this function, otherwise we wouldn't be able to escape. Little Adisha kept hovering around Jia Yan, jumping up and down as if asking for credit. Jia Yan was still immersed in the previous thrill, and when he heard his words, he just nodded. The scene just now was too dangerous. For a star-level Jia Yan, he was not much stronger than a newborn child. After succeeding in the risky robbery, he himself felt a little unimaginable. The stellar powerhouse is too powerful. My current strength is simply not comparable to that of the opponent. This time, the opponent is seriously injured. Otherwise, in the opponent's hands, I will be just a small character who can't stop him. After Jia Yan positioned himself in front of a star-level powerhouse, he didn't care about that much. Look at what I gained this time. I hope the 10 points in the hands of this strong man will be helpful to me. Jia Yan didn't think about his own powerlessness against a star-level powerhouse, but turned it into a more powerful motivation for promotion. He opened the package of the powerful man that he had snatched. First, there was a piece of silk thread that had just been stuffed into the package in a panic. Find the bookstore. The thread was entirely blood-colored, and it was even moving involuntarily at this moment. Jia Yan knew very well that the silk thread was definitely a good thing, and of course it was not for eating. Jia Yan was not that disgusting. He wanted to use the silk thread as a weapon. You must know that this is a toxin that every star is afraid of. If Jia Yan takes it out at a critical moment, it might have miraculous effects. However, this thing is not that easy to collect. Just for a moment after taking out the package, a strange color appeared on the ground of the Edissa, as if the poison had permeated the hull. Master! Stop playing with it. Be careful, the Aditha will be damaged by you, and you will definitely die if you come into contact with it. Aditha came to Jia Yan and said to him. When Jia Yan heard this, he quickly picked the silk thread and gently put it into the package. Presumably the package had some protective effect on the silk thread. After all, it was his own item of huge star level. He would have considered these issues when making it. The toxin in this thread is an extremely terrifying thing. When Jia Yan met him before, if he had been replaced by another venerable level 1, he might have died directly. Moreover, the toxicity of the silk thread seems to be much weaker now than during the battle just now. It is estimated that there is more deep-seated toxicity inside. Huh? There are two things in this monster's package. Jia Yan was shocked when he looked at the other items in the package. It turned out that besides the silk thread that Jia Yan threw in, there were actually two other things in the package. One of them was a black liquid, just a small bottle, about the same size as a wine bottle on Earth. The other part was a substance similar to tree roots. Compared with the small bottle, it was much larger and took up more than half of the package. 7K, Sikusu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 789. Phone reading. What is all this? Jia Yan was a little surprised when he saw these two items. But he is also sure that these two things must be good things, because there are too many good things on the giant star. The huge star level does not even need life-sustaining stones or other things. If you only take these two things, it must be excellent. Something. Even if it was something he had brought with him before, it must be good. Come on, come on. Aditha, come and see. Aditha seemed to still be carefully operating the ship traveling through the subspace, and she only glanced at it at the moment. Then he was a little stunned. Master, that's great. The two things in the small bottle are the reverse blood. Although the quantity is a little less, it is definitely enough for a star-level powerhouse to use. Even if you don't use it yourself, what will you exchange for it in the future? And it must be of extremely high value. As for the tree root, I don't know what it is, but I can see that it's not bad. It's worth it for what the master has sacrificed his life for. Aditha howled in surprise. You little guy, you don't know what it is, but you can't say it's good? But it must be something that can enter the eye of a star, so it should be really good, right? Jia Yan also nodded with some relief, and then closed the lid of the package. It seems that he can't use these two things now, because when he comes into contact with them, his body seems to react like something highly poisonous, and he doesn't even dare to approach them. In fact, many powerful items are like this. They are poison to weaker creatures, but are extremely valuable to more advanced creatures. In particular, Jia Yan is still far behind the star level. The items they use are poisonous to Jia Yan, which is normal. Jia Yan was not only happy to get two items that he didn't know when he would be able to use, but what he was most happy about was that he breathed a bad breath at Kong Ping, who had captured him and killed the senior light and shadow monster. Although he doesn't have the strength to deal with her yet, it would be nice to be able to vent his anger first. Just wait, Kong Ping. As long as I reach the star level in the future, it won't just be a little revenge. You and the Whitebird Warhol behind you will all take revenge together. Jia Yan's eyes flashed. I can't stand it anymore. The dimensional space of this Chaos Star realm is so difficult to travel through. Master, we are far enough away from Kong Ping. I want to leave the space, the Aditha roared. Yeah, okay. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then nodded. The Edisha seemed to be overloaded at this time, and heat was radiating from Guangying's body. Sure enough, his sister had said before that the Edisha could not enter the subspace in the Chaos Star field. It was indeed correct. Now, in such a short period of time, he could hardly hold on. The huge Aditha flew out of the dimensional space. The entire huge body of the ship surged out of the space in the pitch-black environment, and then appeared in the vacuum. This place is already several trillion kilometers away from the previous place. Although we haven't left the Chaos Star territory yet, Kong Ping will definitely not be able to catch up with us, Edisha explained to Jia Yan because she was afraid that Jia Yan would be worried. After traveling through trillions of kilometers in one breath, Jia Yan naturally wouldn't worry about being pursued by that stellar-level monster. Moreover, the Edessa was getting faster and faster in the vacuum, and then its flight speed reached a speed exceeding the speed of light. Even advanced flight tools like the Edessa are using the curvature flight method. However, its technology is more advanced than the aircraft in the Northern Star territory, and it can clear space faster. Under this kind of flight, the Edessa directly exceeds more than twice the speed of light, traveling through the dangerous chaotic star field. In the following days, there were no more surprises. The Edessa even came to the first place where Jia Yan came to this starry sky, the barren galaxy. When he walked out of this desolate galaxy, he was still the most powerful person in the desolate galaxy. But now that he has come back after a few years, he is indeed the most powerful person in the entire northern star field except for the star level. A batch exists. In front of him now, not to mention the 10 powerful men, even the venerables were as fragile as chopping vegetables and chopping melons. However, Jia Yan did not show up. When he passed by, he looked at this small galaxy with only one star with some sigh. Now in his opinion, this place is countless times larger than even the kingdom of Taya. Why did you think this was such a prosperous place in the first place? Now it seems that it is obviously very backward and remote. It seems that there are some things. If you look at things differently, your views on this thing will be different. On the Edessa, Jia Yan used the Edessa's remote monitoring capabilities to look at everything in the deserted galaxy, then shook his head and sighed. This is the vision brought by strength. It is true for the barren galaxies and it is true for the Earth back then. He doesn't know if in a few years, if he looks at the northern star field that he still thinks is advanced, will he also think that the northern star field is advanced? Star territory is just a small area. Also, now that he sees that the 10 powerful men in the deserted galaxy that he was extremely afraid of can now be destroyed with one finger, will he one day be able to kill the stellar powerhouses that he is so afraid of now? Can it be destroyed with one finger? That's really unimaginable. After all, it is such a powerful star, but if you can do it, it should be a very satisfying feeling, right? Thinking of this, the sparkle in Jia Yanfu's eyes shone even brighter. He didn't stay in the deserted galaxy for too long, because he was not sure whether the star-level powerhouse would pursue him here. After watching for 2 or 3 days, he ordered Edessa to set sail. The chaotic star field is dozens of light-years in diameter. Jia Yan's understanding of the chaos star territory is only very superficial. But as long as he understands that this star field will not do much harm to him, and that he can no longer obtain any more benefits here, it doesn't matter to him. Master, if you fly out again, you will arrive at the Losai Empire. This empire also has a star level and is considered a big force. Shall we go in and have a look? One day, the Edessa came to Jia Yan and said the words that he was about to reach another place. Losai Empire? Did Senior Light and Shadow Monster ask me to come here? Jia Yan thought for a while. He was still a little curious about the Losai Empire, but at this moment he didn't want to cause trouble. The Light and Shadow Monster asked him to follow this love before he died. The Disha was moving, so he wanted to ask about the situation. Even now, he has great respect for the Light and Shadow Monster. You must know that this monster has helped Jia Yan a lot. No, although the Losai Empire is considered powerful, it is not this kind of place that number 1 wants you to go to. How should I put it? The Losai Empire is a powerful force. It is true that the former master can destroy this place. Such power is easy. The place number 1 wants you to go to is a place that can make you stronger, and there are more powerful opponents and greater resources there. The Losai Empire is not qualified. Edessa directly criticized the Luok Empire. Then don't stay in the Losai Empire. After hearing his words, Jia Yan immediately stopped thinking about the Losai Empire. Although he was extremely afraid of the entire northern star field, and was a little curious about the enviable empire, but now that he knew that this place was not an extremely advanced place, he simply gave up his stay. Jia Yan feels that his time cannot be wasted. At the same time, he was even more curious. Even the star-level Losai Empire was not his destination, and it seemed that the place was better than the Losai Empire. So where would it be? Jia Yan became even more curious about where the senior light and shadow monster wanted to go. Okay. Then we leave the Chaos Star territory and directly launch the Edish's ultra-long-distance dimensional space travel. Hearing Jia Yan's answer, Adisha flew up and down excitedly. Why are you so happy? Jia Yan asked. Haha, Master, you don't know now. Where you want to go in the future, I believe it will be the place where your top talent can best be used. For you, it will definitely be the real place to take off. When the time comes, you know that she has become famous, Adisha, will definitely become famous as well. Of course I am happy. Jia Yan looked at the nervous little Adisha speechlessly, thinking in his heart why his character was not like that of Senior Guangying. But for Jia Yan, this little guy talks a little too much and is a little timid, but everything he does is very reliable. Maybe he is so naughty that is also considered to him. Maybe a way to relieve loneliness. The huge Aditha had just appeared outside the chaotic star field when a huge impact appeared in the real starry sky. Jia Yan, who hadn't seen the normal starry sky for a long time, took a deep look at the starry sky outside, and then nodded to feel more comfortable. In the chaotic star field, there is no way to compare with the freedom of the outside world. Master, let's jump directly here. As soon as the Edissa came out of the Chaos Star territory, Edissa wanted to follow Jia Yan's words and make a long-distance jump, because Jia Yan wanted to go directly to the destination. Previously, it was impossible to jump over long distances because the space in the Chaos Star field was too dangerous. Now you can jump directly. Good. Jia Yan just finished speaking as promised. Please stop. Please stop. Hit the boat, hitch the boat. A loud voice was transmitted to the Edissa. Hitchhiking. Jia Yan was a little surprised. In the past, he had often heard about hitchhikers on Earth, but after coming to space, this was the first time he heard about hitchhikers. You know that the starry sky is a completely lawless zone. How can you just meet a creature on the road and get it on a battleship? Even if some strong people want to give others a free ride, others don't dare to do so. Thanks to the book friend talking about heroes for the 2000 starting coin reward. I would also like to thank the book friend September Sunshine 552,211 for the reward of 500 starting coins, and the book friend Tian Tian Ancient Books for the reward. Another book friend gave a reward of 500 starting coins, but I can't see his name, so thank you. I beg you all to subscribe to the official version, thank you. 7K, Sikusu. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 790. Jia Yan looked at the direction where the sound came from with some surprise. At the edge of the Chaos Star territory, a monster over 100 meters tall that looked like a dog-headed monster stood there in a state of embarrassment. The strength of this monster is about that of a venerable, and it seems to have reached the level of a venerable. However, his current condition is not very good, he looks depressed and has some injuries on his body. The monster shouted as it approached the Edissa. But the closer he got to the Edissa, the more he saw how strange and huge the ship was, and his expression changed a bit. Sir, please let me take a boat. I am an adventurer who ventures to the Chaos Star territory. Now I have nothing on me. If I fly by myself, God knows whether I will die of exhaustion first or reach an area with people first. You okay? This dog-headed monster came to the side of the Edissa. After finally seeing the size of the Edissa, he calmed down and wanted to make an escape at any time. You must know that the Editha is not an ordinary ship. It is extremely difficult for the Luok Empire to have such technology. The blocking force on this ship is extremely powerful. No matter how powerful the brainwave power he uses, he cannot detect the biological strength inside. It seems that there may be a powerful person inside, or it may be a group of strong people. If the other party, if he had any ill intentions, he would be in danger. But this strong dog-headed man had no choice but to do this. It turns out to be a monster like a victim. On the edge of this chaotic star field, he wants to fly to an area with people. If he flies by himself, I don't have the ability to shuttle. It is not strange for an ordinary venerable to fly for hundreds or thousands of years. And I can't physically hold on for long. When Jia Yan saw the venerable man's appearance, he understood his situation. Master, I don't think I'll save him. There's no point in saving this strong man. Edisha came to Jia Yan's side and kept circling. No, let's save him. It won't do any harm to us. Just close most of the places so he can't see him. Jia Yan shook his head. The other party is also pitiful. Jia Yan doesn't have much ill will towards ordinary strong people. He can also do such casual things. Especially the strength of the other party, both for himself and for the Edisha, is weak. Even if it is some kind of conspiracy, Jia Yan is not afraid. You must know that he is a strong man who escaped from a star-level strong man. Seeing that there was no sound inside the Aditha for a long time, the monster shook his head in frustration, thinking that the other party would not let him enter. What I didn't expect was that not long after, a small hole opened on the surface of the Edissa, and what looked like a flying monster slowly flew out of the hole. Your Majesty, it's okay. Seeing Fei Chuo's strength, the dog-headed monster put down its worries. What he is afraid of is that the strong person appearing on the other side is a half-star level strong person, or a sub-level strong person. If he is that strong, he needs to worry. Now that he sees the other person, he is just a venerable person. I feel a little relieved. Of course, he also knew that there might be a more powerful being inside such a huge ship, and even if there wasn't, this venerable might not be such a simple being. Are you the one in distress? The strong man who flew out of the Edisha was naturally Jia Yan. At this moment, he looked at the dog-headed monster indifferently. The injuries on his body did not look fake. Jia Yan lowered his guard and asked. That's right, my lord, I hope to hitch a ride for a certain distance, and I hope you can help me. Thank you. The venerable man pleaded somewhat unnaturally. Come up, I'm just taking you away, Jia Yan said lightly, and then turned around and returned to the Aditha, regardless of whether the strong dog-headed man behind him would follow. The latter naturally followed quickly. Entering the Edisha, Jia Yan saw that the originally empty Edisha had deformed and formed a room in the small space at the entrance. You stay here, if you want to make any small moves, be careful with your life. After Jia Yan said this, he approached a wall, and then a gap appeared in the wall, allowing him to enter. Jia Yan came behind the wall and saw a wide space behind it, just like before. Master, do we want to jump? If we don't jump, it will waste a lot of time. Edisha came to Jia Yan and asked, somewhat afraid of trouble. Forget it, let's just fly to a place with people, send this strong man off the boat, and then we'll jump to the place you said. Jia Yan shook his head. Saving people to the end, Jia Yan rarely saves people, but this time he didn't know what he was thinking about, so he was so concerned about this wanderer. The Edisha just kept flying like this, without jumping or even entering into any simple shuttle. It just relied on its own flying ability to keep going. Jia Yan didn't want anyone to know about the flying ability of the Aditha. Although he knew that after he went somewhere else, he would probably never see the dog-headed monster again in his life, but he just didn't want the other person to know about the Aditha. The strongest ability. In fact, it is relatively simple to use the Edissa's flying ability to get to areas with people near the Chaos Star Field. There was no conversation along the way, and Jia Yan did not meet the passenger who hitched the boat again. After flying for 3 days, he arrived at a planet with signs of civilization. Jia Yan went directly to the area where the visitors were. During these few days, the other party didn't seem to be afraid that Jia Yan would do something to him, he just rested along the way. After Jia Yan appeared, the strong man opened his eyes. "We've reached a populated area, please go out," Jia Yan said calmly. "Oh, okay. Haha, I can see people now, thank you." The kobold nodded gratefully to Jia Yan, and then walked towards the outside world. And at the last moment when Jia Yan watched him leave, the kobold seemed to mutter to himself. "In this way, I will pass father's test and I can go to that genius battlefield, right? I'm really looking forward to it." This venerable man looked a bit unconcerned with worldly affairs. He was very careless in everything he did about the boat ride and his behavior along the way. But what he said to himself at this moment was really too inappropriate. Just as he said these words, Jia Yan's face behind him changed slightly. "When you want to ask something." Puff. The open door suddenly closed suddenly. The dog-headed monster almost stepped out of the Edis's front feet and almost got caught. Fortunately, he was a venerable man after all. He quickly took his feet back and avoided the fate of having his feet broken. You, what do you want to do?" The kobold seemed a little scared at this moment, and quickly turned around and looked at Jia Yan. Jia Yan looked behind him in the same strange way. After hearing the other parties muttering, he thought that there were actually people in the Lusai Empire talking about the genius battlefield that the star-level monsters talked about when they fought. Just weird. But she didn't expect that Edisha would directly close the ship's door. "Master, what I want you to go to is also the genius battlefield. People in the Lusai Empire probably don't know much about the genius battlefield. At least ordinary venerables cannot know about this place. This venerable seems to some status, you try to ask him about relevant things. My understanding of the genius battlefield is from 3,000 years ago. You just know something about the genius battlefield through him." Aidisha heard a voice in Jia Yan's ears. Only then did Jia Yan suddenly realize that it was the genius war zone that Aditha wanted him to go to. Genius battlefield? What a unique starfield name. Jia Yan nodded secretly. "What on earth do you want to do? If you keep doing this, be careful of me calling someone else. I am the prince of the Lusai Empire," the dog-headed monster shouted with some ferocity. Little did he know that the more he talked like this, the more Jia Yan knew about him. It turns out that he is a descendant of the royal family of the great country of Lusai. No wonder he has so little defense against the outside world, and his speech is so childish. Jia Yan nodded. "You actually called me naive. My father didn't say that to me. My mother just said that to me and told me to be careful when I go out. But I'm already very careful, okay? I won't even take a battleship to the Chaos Star. I have gained experience in the domain." The dog-headed monster didn't need Jia Yan to say anything, but he said a lot on his own. Jia Yan was speechless. This was the first time he saw such a venerable person. Of course, this is not because the other party is really naive, but it can be seen that this so-called prince does not have much experience in dealing with outsiders. "Okay, I won't embarrass you. I just heard that you want a genius battlefield and I want to ask you something." Jia Yan calmly stopped the other party's words, and then when he saw the venerable man, he seemed to want to take action, but did not dare to do so, and came to the other party. After that, his brainwave power surged directly. Jia Yan's strength is so powerful compared to ordinary sages. Even though this kobold said that he was a member of the royal family of the Lusai Empire and seemed to have some special talents, in front of him, he didn't even have a chance to display them, and was directly suppressed by Jia Yan's extremely powerful brainwave power. Originally, brainwave power was Jia Yan's shortcoming, and his strength has always been weak in brainwave power. But recently, he has been facing half-star level or even star level brainwave power suppression. This is also as a result, Jia Yan's brainwave power became stronger unconsciously. Therefore, as soon as he was suppressed, the self-proclaimed royal family did not have the slightest backhand strength, and was suppressed directly to the ground, unable to move. Okay, now I ask you something and you answer it, Jia Yan said calmly. Okay. Just don't kill me. The dog-headed monster looked at Jia Yan in horror. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 791. Moiwan Literature Network. For more information, please log in to the unique address of Moiwan Literature Network, mobile reading login. Welcome your visit /U003E /U003E /U003E. As a prince, the dog-headed monster is a bit naive, but in fact his strength is pretty good. Especially when the royal family lets him face some noble-level guards, he can often beat ordinary guards, but now in front of the person who looked like a venerable person, he still had no resistance at all. This is no longer the same level of strength. The prince feels like he is facing the several large semi-star level people in the royal family. There is an insurmountable gap in level. What kind of strength is this? The clan still wants me to have the genius strength of Emperor Jazza, but now I face a venerable man who seems to be relatively young, but I have no power to resist at all. I go to the genius domain. Will it really work? At this moment, this royal genius was a little unsure of his own strength. Jia Yan didn't realize at all that he had hurt a genius heart. At this moment, he just continued to ask questions calmly. Tell me, where is the genius domain? The genius of Nasi Emperor shook his head helplessly at this time, and then said, the genius domain is a star domain where many big forces and 2 superstar forces have gathered their strength to open up a remote star field. Most of the people there are only talented people, and there are abundant supplies, so many talented people have entered cultivation. Huh? The genius realm turns out to be a place like this. So tell me, who is weaker in the genius realm than you, Emperor Ci? Jia Yan asked curiously. Huh? The dog-headed monster raised its head blankly. He originally thought that Jia Yan knew about the genius domain, but now that he heard it, did the other party really not know anything about the genius domain? I said, the strength of the genius realm, how should I put it? If you think that I, the Emperor Ci, can compete with me, then you think too highly of me, the great Ci. The area of the genius realm is thousands of light years in diameter, Bitsy. The star field controlled by the Emperor is more than 10 times larger, and it is close to the center of the Milky Way. The resources are extremely rich. Among other things, there are some genius star classes in it. When these star classes come out, the Emperor is about to be destroyed, the dog-headed monster said with some longing. It turns out that the genius domain is such a place, so tell me why it is called the genius domain and its specific origins. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment and then asked. A place with a radius of thousands of light years is larger than the entire Orion arm where the Earth is located. It is not so much an area as a large star field, and this entire area is just a genius created by some forces. Area. It felt terrible to hear it. As the dog-headed man told him, Jia Yan became more and more surprised as he listened. Only then did he understand something about the entire galaxy. Compared with some previous hearsay, Jia Yan has a little understanding of the many scenes in the Milky Way, as well as the extended struggle for power. The genius domain is a secluded area created by 2 super powerful forces uniting with a large group of large forces. But the super powerful forces mentioned here are not the big forces mentioned in the Northern Star Territory, but the entire starry sky and even the entire galaxy. All of them belong to super powerful forces. The Kobold Prince didn't know what these 2 major forces were, because his Emperor Ci didn't even have the level to know the name of the super force. In short, they and a large group of large forces have strayed into a star field. As geniuses, they enter the place where they practice and fight. No matter what kind of genius, as long as they enter, outsiders cannot attack them. However, such geniuses, in it won't be too easy in the genius domain, the rate inside is no lower than outside. Moreover, every once in a while, the players in the genius domain will have a competition, and those who are ranked behind will be expelled based on the time they entered the domain. So that's it, these forces actually created such a terrible place. After hearing what the dog-headed man said, Jia Yan muttered to himself in surprise. The dog-headed man didn't know why he did this. The dog-headed prince wanted to go to the genius realm, but his clan did not agree. In the end, he was told to go to the Chaos Star realm for training. He would only be sent to the genius realm if he could enter and come out again, and bring back video evidence. It can be said that the strength of the kobold is extremely poor in the Chaos Star territory. In addition, his ship was also damaged in a certain space distortion crisis, so there was a scene of a free ship. Interesting, this genius realm is really worth visiting, and there, CAI is a matter of course, and there are not many big star levels. Even if there are star levels, they have just been promoted. Jia Yan's eyes lit up instantly when he heard these words. He finally understood why the light and shadow monster wanted him to go to this genius realm, because he improved very quickly in the genius realm, and his strength had long surpassed that of ordinary people at the same level. Don't know how much. More importantly, there are countless resources in the genius domain, especially what makes Jia Yan most excited is that the star level inside cannot be as big as the star level outside. Because the geniuses who are promoted to the star level inside are only allowed to practice for a period of time, such as 50 years to stabilize their strength, and then they are taken away. After all, the stellar level is too disruptive to the balance. So how powerful would such a star be? If Jia Yan was a little older, would there be a slight possibility that he could win by leapfrogging? No. As long as Jia Yan can escape from that kind of star-level men, that's enough. In that case, if he fights more star-level players with incomplete strength, his strength will increase faster and faster, and he will become more and more skilled in star-level skills. The more he thought about it, the more excited Jia Yan felt. Okay, let's go. Jia Yan listened a lot, especially about the emperors who should be careful, so he asked Edisha to open a door on the ship to let the dog-headed ones out. But when he asked the other party to go out, the dog-headed man didn't want to go out. Sir, I think you also want to go to the genius realm, right? Then, can you let me take a short boat ride? If the genius brothers in my family see me and go to the genius realm without passing through my house, they will definitely. I was so surprised that my eyes dropped, it was so fun. He laughed strangely and refused to leave. I'll go, this guy is too nervous. Jia Yan was startled. It's up to you. Let me tell you in advance, it's not very comfortable for my ship to jump through space. If you can't stand still, let me know. Jia Yan shook his head. After that, ignore the dog-headed monster and return to the compartment. My master is so powerful that I have accepted my first subordinate. He is the prince of Emperor Ci, and he may be able to help you in your journey to the genius realm. Edisha came to Jia Yan and said with some admiration. The first subordinate. Jia Yan gave a helpless smile and said, if someone with this kind of qualification is regarded as a subordinate, I will probably be annoyed to death, so let's forget it. Edisha, you have stayed here long enough in city. Let's enter the jump. The little guy behind will ignore him. He is the one who wants to ride. Jia Yan said. Okay. Edisha happily agreed. After that, the entire Edissa quickly entered a kind of subspace. This is the dimensional space, but compared to the ordinary jumping space, in fact, the creatures jumping in it will not feel very comfortable. Jia Yan didn't feel much because his talent was in space. But the dog-headed monster behind was a bit unbearable. Ah! My head hurts so much, brother, why don't you let me go down? Ah, no one is there. Now that he's on the boat and Jia Yan has started jumping, how can he really let him off at any time? Now the kobold can only move forward quickly with the Edissa. Of course, the great discomfort is not without gain, because at this moment, the Edissa is heading towards the area where the genius domain is located at an incredible speed. After leaving faster and faster, Jia Yan looked at the leaving space behind with some emotion. In that direction, the northern star field was getting further and further away. He came to this prosperous place in the star field, and it was also the place where he stayed the longest, and it gradually became more and more distant. Alas, another place has become my memory. Jia Yan shook his head depressedly, and every time he passes through a starry sky area and goes to the next place, he will feel a little emotional. Because the universe is too big, no matter how he spins around, he doesn't think he will leave the Milky Way. But the Milky Way alone is too big for him. When he walks through a place, even if he leaves many memories in that place, he will not be able to leave the Milky Way in the future. Whether he will return to the place of memory or not, he himself cannot guarantee. Because even great-level galactic eons cannot cross many light years at every turn, and distance will always be the biggest problem facing them. But my former Lu will only be a big, genius field. Compared with the northern star territory, what kind of place will it be? Are there really many geniuses? Are there any geniuses as big as me? Exist. It's really exciting. Jia Yan finally stopped thinking about the northern star field behind him. Especially after knowing that scientists in Taya were working hard to turn some of his ideas into reality, the thought of leaving a familiar place became even weaker. After all, we might be able to communicate over long distances in the future. Before arriving at the genius star field, the Edisha still has to sail for a while, so I will immerse myself in Fen and see what the situation is there. Jia Yan felt a little heavy, slowly relaxed, then crawled down, completely emptying his mind. His safety is naturally guaranteed on the Edissa, so he can completely relax at this moment and put his mind on the things that have not passed for a long time. Next, he has to solve the problem of the civilization on the Earth and the Orion Arm. This volume is over, and the next volume is the surrender of the Orion Arm and the new crisis. I hope everyone can come to the official version to read and support. Only the original version is noble. Thank you. For more information, please log in to the unique address of Moiwan Literature Network, mobile phone reading login. Welcome your visit. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 792. Moiwan Literature Network. For more information, please log in to the unique address of Moiwan Literature Network, mobile reading login. Welcome your visit /U003E /U003E /U003E. In a familiar smell of space, the young man with black hair and black eyes slowly opened his eyes. This body feels more comfortable. The man looked at his body with some interest. Of course he is Jia Yan. At this moment, he is still very satisfied with the feeling of separation. And what he was more interested in was that even though the Edissa was moving extremely fast, his connection with the ship was not greatly affected. This showed that the NATA equipment he brought on the Edissa was working. Jia Yan stood up and had not returned to Fenley for a long time. He felt that his field of vision suddenly changed from being really tall to being as small as an earthling. He had a feeling that he was not used to. Fortunately, this feeling passed quickly. Jia Yan looked around and found that his space capsule aircraft was on the verge of running out of energy and its speed was getting slower and slower. Even after all this time, he has not reached the vicinity of Emperor Rulan's capital. But Jia Yan is not worried. His strength has improved now. Although the energy score is not as high as Zhen, his understanding of space is the same. As long as the space capsule has no energy, he can use his body to move quickly in the starry sky. Go ahead. but it looks like it's almost there. It's better to try not to use the power you can without wasting points. And it seems that Roland Dimian also has the energy that can be used in the space capsule. Forget it, the past tribulation, oh no, it's the past tribulation. When you are fighting for compensation, ask for some by the way. Jia Yan nodded and continued to feel fully. After all, I haven't returned to points for so long, and I need to take a closer look at the new feeling. Finally, when Jia Yan opened his eyes again, the star map of the space capsule showed that a huge interstellar emperor was about to appear in front of him. Lan Emperor, I happen to be in the northern star territory, and I was a little depressed when I was chased away by those at the stellar level. I will take it out on you now, Jia Yan thought unkindly. In front of the space capsule, a huge star-gathering area indeed appeared. There are 3 star systems that almost overlap each other. One star is about the same size as the Sun, while the other 2 are much larger. One star in particular is almost hundreds of times larger than the Sun. Although it is not as scary as the red giant that Jia Yan has seen, it is still an extremely terrifying star. Between these 3 stars, there is a large area of Earth, where many planets appear. Roland Emperor's base camp, which is also the capital of Roland Emperor, is located here. Jia Yan drove the space capsule. After knowing some space knowledge, Jia Yan used some force principles at this time. Under the influence of the force of 3 stars, he accelerated the space capsule to almost the speed of light without causing too much energy waste. At this time, Emperor Roland was a little frightened. Because they have received calls from the messenger from Earth for quite some time. The entire imperial capital understands that what is supposed to come will definitely come, but due to the distance between the stars, the other party will not arrive so quickly. The strength of this person is absolutely terrifying. Even the second being of Emperor Asta did not persist in a single move under his hands. Such a person is almost impossible to fight against Emperor Roland. Just when Emperor Roland was a little frightened, several big men also gathered together. Among this group of people, the strength is not too weak, at least they are all starry sky level on the Orion arm, especially a few, who are called high-level stars here. Among this group of people, there was a tall monster with a face. Tiangang, tell me, where is this Earth? I seem to have heard of it somewhere, a person asked the tall man strangely. The tall monster was caught in the SI rope. After a while, he spoke solemnly. I know that there are 2 major places on Earth, or 2 forces, but in my opinion, neither of these 2 places should be the civilization of the Earth. He said. Oh? Where are the 2 places you know? The questioner continued to ask. The tall monster who was being questioned stood up at this time. His body was more than 5 meters tall, almost taller than the person on his side. The Earth I know about is, first of all, a remote place about 20 light years away from the imperial border. This is a primitive civilization with only 1 planet, and the creatures on it are very similar to the Asta civilization. Even the so-called messenger is very similar to the creatures on this planet. But I don't think he comes from this planet. The elders on the other side also nodded, and one of them echoed, that's right, how could such a large existence appear in a small indigenous civilization? In that case, do you think the other party emerged from another place called Earth? Already? No. The other one is even more impossible. The tall monster shook his head strangely. The other place called Earth is actually a force. Didn't we, Emperor Roland, compete with Emperor Asta and Emperor Biochemical for the border back then? The gray-yellow star of the Earth? There once appeared a force called the Earth there, and even within this force, there appeared a big being who could compete with a star-level star. However, later this force as a whole escaped from the gray-yellow star. I think even if this force is large, it cannot be what this messenger calls the Earth civilization. After hearing this, everyone was even more confused. Is the word Earth a very frequently used word in unknown civilizations? No matter how they look at it, This awkward name is not an easy word to pronounce, right? Why does it seem like every civilization uses this name? Forget it, maybe this messenger came from a distant force called the Earth, and that force, or civilization, is an extremely terrifying advanced civilization. At least our emperor hasn't discovered them yet, and they have already discovering us shows how great the technology of this civilization is. Not only are they civilized, their warriors are also extremely powerful. I heard that the envoy who came here casually suppressed Ostaw's 2 people, as well as a group of warriors from the western regions. Even the king of the western regions, we don't dare to say a disrespectful word to him. It seems that the other party's strength may be greater than we imagined. Everyone was a little worried about the so-called messenger who was coming. Fortunately, someone shook his head indifferently at this time. No matter how many there are, no matter how big it is, if you want to come to us from the western regions, no matter how fast the spaceship is, it will be difficult to reach the capital in such a short time. Let's think of a solution first. Maybe when he comes over, we'll have a solution. That's right, maybe we, seniors like Lan Emperor, have broken through the shackles during this period of time and reached the same level as that envoy. No, maybe even stronger than that envoy. They are of this level it's beyond our ability to understand. Maybe the old-timers at this time are bigger than the messenger. A group of people were looking at a certain direction of the capital star with some expectation at this moment, seeming to be extremely confident about that place. But what they didn't notice was that while they were talking, an extremely fast small spacecraft quickly arrived near Rulan Emperor's capital star. The technology here is still so advanced. After seeing the civilization in the central area of the northern star region, looking at this Rulan Emperor capital star, it's just like a joke. The space capsule that Jia Yan was riding in came to the sky above Rulan Emperor's capital planet. Not to mention the anti-advertisement reminder, he was not even found, which made Jia Yan shake his head. The people on Earth were almost wiped out by such a group of creatures, and the other party only used 2 mining machines. There is really a huge difference between civilizations. Jia Yan used to think that the gap between Earth and Emperor Rulan was huge, and Emperor Rulan must be an extremely developed civilization in the interstellar world, but he did not expect that from what he saw in the northern star territory, he learned about a civilization that far surpassed Emperor Rulan. And in the foreseeable future, he knew that he would see truly top-level civilization events, such as the genius domain that day, and even civilizations and forces that were even more powerful than the domain. Under their light, Emperor Lan was just a later civilization. However, this Rulan Emperor is quite powerful. Relying on those primitive spaceships and ships, he can rule a large area of the star field, which is also a good strength and means. However, in this star field where they are almost invincible, finally, a civilization will appear that can suppress them in one fell swoop, Earth. With a glint in his eyes, Jia Yan jumped out of the space capsule. Among the surrounding stars, there are still a few shining stars. The entire vicinity of Rulan Emperor's capital star is not without any defense system, but for Jia Yan and the space capsule he is riding in, it is the same whether there is or not. He directly activated the invisibility ability of the space capsule. Then, Jia Yan directly demonstrated his brain power without any prior words or statements. Buzz. Rulan Emperor's capital planet is an Earth-like planet with a diameter of about 10,000 miles, which is not much different in size from the Earth. But with Jia Yan's use of brain power this time, the entire 1,000-mile area was directly suppressed by a huge force. All the creatures on the planet, whether they were in this area or not, suddenly felt an unbelievable terrifying force that enveloped the entire planet. What happened? Ugh. My head hurts so much, I'm going to die. What's wrong? What kind of power is this? I'm obviously a heaven-level person, but I can't even move. It hurts. The moment Jia Yanao's power was released, all life on the entire planet, large and small, felt this amount of terror, and the existences within 1,000 miles had a splitting headache, almost on the verge of death. This book comes from. For more information, please log in to the unique address of Moiwan Literature Network, mobile phone reading login. Welcome your visit. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 793. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Above the stars, Jia Yan was releasing the power of brainwaves a full 500 kilometers away from the capital star of the Rulan Empire. In such a high starry sky, his body is naturally in a vacuum environment, but his body is still falling rapidly. He was not very satisfied with the fact that this clone could only suppress creatures within 1,000 kilometers, because he knew that if his real body took action, he might be able to suppress almost the entire planet. But there is no way, the power of the clone has been being consumed, and it is basically impossible to replenish it, so he has nothing to say about being able to cause such an effect at this time. This 1,000 kilometers just covers the royal family's location. The strong men inside are quite a bit stronger than those in the western region, and there is also a player who seems to be a good player. Jia Yan looked calmly at the planet ground below. The direction where he landed was exactly where the royal family of the Rulan Empire, which covered hundreds of kilometers, was located. The entire royal family of the Rulan Empire is extremely glorious. The palaces and sculptures inside are on a completely different level than what Jia Yan saw in the palaces in the western regions. The beauty of history seems to be more profound. Moreover, the royal family also has extremely terrifying defensive power. When Jia Yan fell, that defensive power was revealed. Gunfire. Jia Yan first saw the first defensive force, a large piece of artillery fire protruding from the ground, then aimed at Jia Yan, who was flying quickly, and opened fire directly. These rounds of anti-aircraft fire are extremely terrifying. For the Starry Sky class of the Orion arm, every shot may be life-threatening. If it was Jia Yan before going to the Northern Star territory, maybe can't stand a single shot. But now, it's simply overestimating one's abilities. Jia Yan made a faint sound. He did not directly resist, but his body entered the subspace. The powerful creatures below just saw this extremely terrifying existence. After shouting suddenly in the sky, he disappeared. Then his energy fluctuations fell to the ground of the palace in an instant. After that, Jia Yan's brainwave power dispersed faintly, and the gunfire exploded directly. Under the loud noise, half of the entire palace, which may have thousands of years of history, turned into ashes in an instant. With the sound of the mountains shaking and the earth shaking, palaces collapsed one by one, and some creatures screamed in terror and flew out of those buildings. Those who were able to escape were all powerful beings who had reached the starry sky level. Of course, this was only the starry sky level of the Orion arm. Jia Yan did not take action again, but stood proudly on the spot after extinguishing the artillery fire. The power of his hand and the overwhelming display of strength directly stunned the defense forces of the Rulan Empire's royal family, including the entire Rulan Empire's defenders. An existence that can suppress everyone within a radius of 1,000 kilometers, except for starry sky-level existences. There is also an existence that can fire thousands of cannons without any damage, and even uses a method of movement that they have never seen before. Can their remaining backhand be dealt with? Who is this? His strength is so terrifying. Looking at Jia Yan's clone body, the powerful starry sky level seemed a little unbelievable that such a small creature could actually use the command. It was so powerful that they didn't even dare to move. No. This seems to be the so-called Earth Messenger. If I remember correctly, he looks like this in the images sent from the western region. A starry sky level expert saw Jia Yan's appearance from a distance and said in disbelief. His body voice can be heard by many powerful people. The powerful people in the capital of Rulan Empire have all seen Jia Yan's clone image. At this moment, they carefully distinguish each one. Although they are of different races, they can be distinguished because of the starry sky level. The strong people have excellent discrimination ability, so they can distinguish Jia Yan's appearance one by one. It's really him. The Earth Messenger, he actually arrived at our capital planet so quickly. What to do? His strength seems to be really terrifying. We haven't figured out a way to deal with him yet. Don't worry, our Rulan Empire's trump card has not yet appeared. This senior's strength has long surpassed that of ordinary strong men. He is not even on the list of strong men. If he appears, he might be able to deal with this strong man. Starry sky level beings were extremely wary of Jia Yan's clones, but they still came quickly one after another. They are the strong ones guarding the capital of the Rulan Empire, so of course they have to show up, not to mention that they still have hope in their hearts, that is, they hope that the killer senior who did not show up can deal with this formidable enemy coming to Fan. People of the Rulan Empire, what are you doing? If you don't welcome this envoy when he comes, do you still want to use force against me? Jia Yan stands proudly in the center of the Star Royal Palace, the capital of the Rulan Empire. The eyes of the strong men around him were full of anger, because Jia Yan was stepping on the tomb of the first emperor who founded the royal family among the royal families of the Rulan Empire. Every strong man loyal to the royal family, or the existence of the royal family, had to pay tribute every year. He came to pay homage, but now Jia Yan has stepped on the tomb of the late emperor, who was respected by every creature in the Rulan Empire. You bastard, get your feet away from the tomb of the first emperor. A strong man finally couldn't bear it anymore and shouted at Jia Yan fiercely. Oh? What you mean by this is that you despise me as the messenger. That means you look down on our Earth civilization. In this case, I will regard you as my enemy, give it to me. Die. Jia Yan said lightly. Then the strong man, a dignified being from the early stage of the starry sky, actually squeezed the blood out of the monster's cheek just under Jia Yan's glance. It seemed that Jia Yan did not want him to die immediately, but continued to do so. Screaming, the strong man roared for a long time before falling from the air to the ground, gradually becoming silent in pain. Well. When a group of strong men saw that Jia Yan had only used his brainwave power, they killed a strong man in the early stage of the starry sky. Now everyone could see the difference in strength. And it seems that the opponent's strength has not been fully used. This is the tomb of the first emperor of your Rulan Empire, right? He educated you descendants who like chaos and war, so his tomb has nothing worth remembering for you. Give it to me. Broken. After Jia Yan finished speaking calmly, he raised his feet. Lifting the kick carried extremely terrifying power. Although the tomb under his feet was made of unknown materials and must have been extremely solid, Jia Yan did not think that the defense of the tomb could block his kick at all. But at this moment, an invisible force roared from a hidden place in the royal family. Friend, there is something wrong with what you are doing. The voice sounded extremely old, as if he was an old man who was about to die of old age. The Rulan Empire's starry sky level beings on one side changed their expressions when they heard the earth-shattering sound, and then became ecstatic. This is the most powerful existence secretly in their Rulan Empire, and he is also an old man in the entire Rulan Empire. No one even knows his true strength. Almost all the starry sky level people in the entire Rulan Empire have received his approval. Guidance. They all believed that this extremely powerful old man would be able to suppress the invading so-called Earth Messenger. Oh, you finally dare to come out? But it's no use even if you come. Jia Yan seemed to have known about the existence of this strong man for a long time. When he saw this strong man showing a brainwave power, he suddenly laughed coldly. That surge of power was not intended to defeat Jia Yan. The opponent vaguely understood that he was no match for Jia Yan. The purpose of his attack this time was Jia Yan's fallen foot. A strong man has dignity. If Jia Yan's first step was blocked by the opponent, he would probably not step on him a second time. But will Jia Yan be stopped by him? joke. Jia Yan's expression did not change at all and he continued to step on. The brainwave power wrapped around Jia Yan's feet, which was a bit unexpected for Jia Yan. The speed of the opponent's brainwave power could actually catch up with the speed of his casual kick. Although it was just a casual step, how strong is Jia Yan? In this Orion arm, he can almost believe that he is invincible. Even if the clone's strength is a little weaker, he does not think that anyone can compete with his existence. But this being actually directly wrapped his own feet. Jia Yan's face turned even colder, and then a cold light flashed in his eyes. Puff! An even more terrifying force was transmitted to the solace of his feet. The other party's brainwave power was unable to resist at all, and at this moment, it was directly shaken away. Everyone present seemed to hear a gentle groan of pain from a being in the dark. After that, almost all of them despaired when they saw Jia Yan's seemingly small feet stepping onto the tombs of the previous emperors. Boom! There seemed to be a faint vibration in the whole world. With this kick, a small earthquake was caused in the entire palace of Shaudu Star. Molten emerged in some places, and some creatures were shocked to death. Boom 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 boom. The tomb of the first emperor of the Rulan Empire under Jia Yan's feet exploded directly. It was not that there were no defenses here, but with the strength of Jia Yan's foot, he could not even resist at all, causing the entire tomb to explode and open. Under the loud noise, what was reflected in the entire sky was that hundreds of starry sky-level beings were stunned and almost lost their minds. Their belief-like existence was that the first emperor who created the Rulan Empire was trampled by an alien civilization 10,000 years later. Oh, the first emperor? The corpse is just an ordinary big frog, an inferior creature. Jia Yan looked down at the large row of monster bones that shattered into pieces along with the tomb, and smiled coldly. "Ah, you bastard, I will fight with you."